Welcome to boundariesforeffectiveministry.org. This is part 3 of the series Licensed Marriage versus Christian Matrimony. In this episode, we're going to define the 3 terms: application, marriage, and license, because each one of those things has significant legal effects in your life. So, let's get started. So the question becomes, how does the government get jurisdiction over your marriage, your property, and your children? The answer is that they get this jurisdiction because you've consented to it, and that's the first term we're going to deal with, and that's the application. The application is your consent to be governed by the state. Whether you're applying for a job, whether you're applying for admission into a university, you must apply and consent to the policies of that entity. So you give your consent to be governed by the state by filling out an application. That's the legal evidence of your consent.
All governments must maintain power through consent, not coercion.
Marriage is distinguished from matrimony. Marriage is a civil contract, and matrimony is a sacramental covenant. As a civil contract, the marriage is governed by state law. And it's also in the Constitution for the United States that the government cannot interfere in a contract between people. The state cannot interfere in your contract because it's expressly forbidden in the Constitution. So, as in any business relationship, if you want another partner in the contract, then you have to invite them in. They can't just barge in and become part of your deal. So in order to take jurisdiction over your marriage, you have to invite the state in as another partner to your marriage, so that when you apply, you add the state to your marriage contract. And the state, in a sense, becomes the mother-in-law that you never wanted, because the state is the controlling partner in that contract once you've given your consent. As we pointed out in part 2, matrimony is a religious covenant governed by God's law, the 10 Commandments. To enter the state of matrimony, the marriage act or the marriage ceremony must later be sexually consummated. This is not a requirement of business partners in civil marriages. And that's the distinguishing mark between living in the daily state of matrimony under God's law and living as business partners under civil law. So, what's a license? A license is a permission slip for you to do something that would be illegal if you didn't have that permission slip. Marriage has never been illegal. So what's going on here? Certain kinds of marriages are illegal. That's what's going on. In this case, it's plural marriages that are illegal. So, to summarize, an application is your consent which the state needs for the state to govern your marriage. Marriage is a civil contract between 2 people and a corporation known as the state, and is governed by state codes. On the other hand, matrimony is a religious, physical, and spiritual union under God's law. A license is a permission slip to do something that would ordinarily be illegal. As you can see, when you define the terms, an application for a marriage license has serious consequences. It's not just a formality. So, come join us in part 4. It should be an eye-opener.